let me see.
It says you're recording.
Yeah, now that's funny. It didn't give me the choice between the cloud and my computer.
It should.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, Fred, you know that rain that you got, I think we ended up with it about 6 hours later. I'm here in mid-Atlantic area, and we had storms come through last night, and then today we had the remnants of Laura go over us. But storms were worse than the remnants of the hurricane.
I believe that. By the time that hurricane got up to you, it was pretty well wiped out.
Yeah, it was just a lot of clouds with water still left in them, but there wasn't much to it.
Yeah. Well, our weather down here says there's 2 more that they're watching in the Caribbean now that may come through.
Mm.
Wow, 2020, what a heck of a year.
Yeah.
They'll be remembered for the worst things.
Oh, gosh.
That's Dylan hitting guard posts along the road.
I guess.
Mm.
Well, listen, it's got 7 o'clock already my time at least. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming tonight. I really do appreciate it. I think you're really going to enjoy talking to Chris tonight. And I hope you come back many times and tell your friends about it. The train show is scheduled for September the 19th at 1 o'clock. And everybody, I hope, will be able to attend it. It's going to be something totally different for us because I've never done anything like this before, but we're trying everything that we can think of to make it successful. And I'm confident right now, at least, that it's looking awfully good. If you have not done so, if you could send your name and scale and email address to Dylan, but Greg tonight, because Dylan's on his way back from a vacation and he's in his truck, and so Greg is taking over for him. So if you can use the chat function and send it to Greg, then we'll make sure we get you on our mailing list and send you an email about the next meetings. Next time we have an interesting session. It's going to be our first My Build session for New Tracks, and Chris is going to be the moderator of it. And we're really looking forward to starting this. I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any more ideas like this, I hope you'll share them with us, and we'll try to include those in future shows. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Chris to you, Chris Coates. And he's going to talk about his modeling and his company, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So Chris, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, Jim. I want to start out, my name is Chris Coarse. I'm from Conowingo Models. I started out in the business about, a year and change ago. Like everybody else, I got a Tyco set, train set for Christmas when I was a young kid. And, you know, that's where it all started. Eventually, my dad brought home a Rutland car, which I didn't know anything about. My dad was actually from Rutland. And as a matter of fact, his father had worked in a barber shop that was right across from the freight house at the Rutland Yard. So many years later, when I decided to get back into model railroading, I decided I was going to do the Rutland as sort of a tribute to that whole situation. I actually got started in Craftsman kits in 2015. I started buying them. I was actually in Afghanistan at the time, but I had a good mail system set up. So it would take about 8 days or so to get mail over there. And so I would buy stuff on eBay or whatever and have them shipped over. And I had brought a supply of glues and things like that to work on kits with, but I didn't bring any paint over. What I actually did was I took and I got these models to a specific point, and then I put them in Ziploc bags or whatever I needed to do. And then when I had a whole box full, I mailed it home. And matter of fact, some of the stuff I built over there is still not finished. Because the way my schedule worked out is I was actually in my room every night, and I had basically 1 day a week off, so I could dedicate that towards building these neat little models. And so I sent them home, started working on them. A lot of them are finished. During that time, I actually built up a brief relationship with Jeff Grove of Carolina Craftsman. And I had some ideas for some models that hadn't been done before. And I'd found some things, and I took them to Jeff, and I was like, "Hey Jeff, why don't you do this?" And he's like, "You know what? Why don't you do this?" So it took me a while. In fact, one of the kits that I brought to him as an idea, I've actually cut it, but it's still not, you'll eventually see it, hopefully, as a Conolingo model. I was lucky enough that when I got home, it's actually the Pensbury Mill, Pensbury Hydroelectric Mill, which, come to find out, basically what it was is this guy wanted to provide some power to his house. And of course, he had a lot of money, and it come to find out it's 40 minutes up the road, so that's an easy. So I got hold of some people that were involved in the trust that take care of that mill, and I was able to go in and see the operation of it. And the lady that gave me the tour, I asked her for a set of plans. Just so happens she's an architect, and that's, she had the plans from when they restored it. So I managed to have those around here somewhere. Oh yeah, up there. But I took, and it's funny because when I was in Afghanistan, I had scratch built a version of that mill, and I was dead on with with my guesswork on it as the exact size and all that, because I put the original scratch built model next to the one that I had built using the plans, and sure enough, they're almost identical. But anyway, on to Conolingo models. If you could give me a screen share, Greg, that'd be appreciated.
Okay, you've got it, Chris.
All right. Okay. All right. So I'll just go through the kits, and we can go through these. This is one of the first ones that I had really produced big time. I think it was actually the second kit that I put out, but it was probably the biggest for Conolingo models so far. But basically, it's got an internal structure that's made out of basswood, and then it also has an exterior structure that you glue your strip wood on, and also put the stone paper on. And actually, Mark Schreier, just up north here, Foggy Mountain Models, has this really cool stone paper that I've included, and it works pretty well. Through Jeff, I've gotten to meet Mark and also Steve Milley and a few other people. And that's the shingles that you're seeing on here are actually from Steve. So that actually this kit I had built, or actually I had designed it for the most part during George Bush Sr.'s funeral. And I was like, well, because people were talking about it, and really I think aside from all the fame and fortune and all that stuff, deep down inside, when he was just getting started, he was a pretty simple guy, and a lot of his philosophies came from that. So this is a pretty simple mill, and I figured that'd be a good fitting tribute. Next, we have our background flats. Those are.
Chris,
What's
let me
that?
ask you, let me
Sure.
ask you a question. Going back to that first model that you had up,
Yes.
the stone base that you have, that's a paper product?
Yes, it is.
Boy, it sure looks good.
Yeah, it does. That's why I used it.
And that's just, you just paste it on to the basswood? I mean, that's,
Yeah, what I do, it's in the directions. What you do is you put a good coat of glue on there, you put it on, and then I clamp it shut. You know, I've got some 2x4s around here that I found make for good supports. So I put some clamps on there, clamp that whole thing shut, and keep it good and flat for probably about 24 hours. I found 24 seems to be a good number for applying that pressure, to keep that pressure on there and keep these things moving. That being said, this is not a quick kit because of that.
Right.
It looks pretty simple, and it is, but at the same time, it's going to take some time.
sure looks good though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the background flats. People were pushing me saying, hey, we need background flats. So I did a bunch, and so here's what we have. I've got 5 of them out right now. There actually was a 6th one, but when it came to production, that 6th one just kind of fell off the radar a little bit. Now, this is something we've talked about on here before. What you're seeing right there is it was done by Greg Cassidy, because I had actually built this up from a couple different I had a couple different ideas. Being a Rutland guy, I wanted to do a covered bridge, but I also had this at the time. There was this thing going around the internet about John Allen's I think it's called the Slopeback railroad. I think that's that actually looks like a stock car, you know, for hauling pigs and things like that, livestock car. And so I decided, why don't I try to take and combine these ideas just to see what'll happen. And I really didn't intend to do anything with it, but then after a while of messing with it, I think this is actually what you see on the left there is actually the second prototype. The first one was just too skinny, and it had a lot of issues. But you know, what I sent to Greg is what you're seeing in the middle there, and he did a fabulous job of it. And basically, what it all comes down to is the weathering that you apply. If you're good at weathering, then this thing is going to come out great. What we're looking at here is also rail scale models, cedar roofing, and it's a lot of the construction methods are unique to this kit, but yet they resemble the previous kit at the same time, in that you've got your internal supports for your roof and all that. So if you're up for a challenge, here you go. This is your kit. Next, we have the Eliminator Depot. This is the second most expensive kit we have, and it has a lot of those that same internal structure. And again, it's got the rail scale shingles on it, although the ones that come with the kit are actually random shake, not the squared off shingles like on here. But like most of our kits, they have the tiki doors and windows on them. And I think this kit would go pretty well in just about any scene you could come up with. I called it Eliminator Depot, but it doesn't really need to, which is kind of a Western theme, but it's not really, doesn't really need to be. You probably get away with doing this in Pennsylvania or wherever. Mm. Next, we have the Fallen Angel Tavern. With this one, I actually came up with a name before I came up with a building. Kind of backwards, but I figured, what the heck, why not? You know, why would you have a, you know, what would a Fallen Angel Tavern be? And of course, that would be an old church. So here you go. It's got if you see the rafters up top, that was a little experiment I tried, and you might see that one again in the future. But this is a fairly easy kit, I think, to put together, and it could probably go well as either a tavern, or you could revert it back into a church and put it in the Old West or something. Next, probably our best-selling kit so far is the 24-foot flat car. Now, the thing that I've done with this kit is I've made it the basis for future expansion. I know Greg right now is working on a little caboose that, in fact, I've got one right in front of me that I realized I botched, so I've got to try that one again. But I'm trying different things with these cars. And really, the really cool thing about this, actually, I'll come to that. I'm jumping to conclusions. But this actually, this kit actually comes with 2 different logging options. And I haven't even used them yet, but I just got in some Conowingo Railroad decals that I think are going to be kind of fun to see and play with. But basically, the way this thing is set up is you put the frame together, and then you put the strip wood across it, and then you build the structure underneath of it. I think it comes out pretty neat. An extension of the 24-foot is the 36-foot. It's pretty much the same thing, except this one actually has gondola sides. The prototype you see here, it's if you'll notice the position of the trucks, those trucks. This is a prototype. The trucks are actually moved a little further out. It's just when I upscaled it, I didn't notice that that it dragged the bolsters further in. So I needed to fix that. So that's fixed for the production kits. Excuse me. Next, we have a little further explanation of what I'm doing with the rolling stock. You'll see up top, you'll see examples of the decals. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Pentaquad, but that was a character out of James Michener's Chesapeake. Apparently his mother lived not too far from here, so he had actually included Conowingo in the book in a couple different places. I think the first mention of it was on page 9, and there was a character by the name of Pentaquad that was riding his yellow canoe through Conowingo. And so I felt it kind of fitting and to use Pentaquad as the Conowingo model's logo. And so we've carried that into the fictitious Conowingo Railroad. It's like a lot of people try to do, is a kind of tongue in cheek, but route of Pentaquad. So basically he's going south. Like I mentioned before, the flat cars are the basis for future development. Working very slowly on a maintenance of way car, the caboose. You actually see the first caboose in this picture, but it actually needed a lot more work than you see right here. There's a boxcar, which I actually have the prototype for in front of me. There's a tanker that I botched up, so I'm going to redo that one. I've been thinking about doing a passenger car. Not sure which platform it's going to be on, but I think that's going to be an interesting build. And then there's the drover's caboose, which it's going to be somewhere between a passenger car and one of the other cars. One of the neat things about these kits is in order to build the flat car itself, you only need basically 5 things. You need a hobby knife, some glue, a screwdriver, a paintbrush, and some paint. That's it. And in fact, there's actually a pin that I've included in the kit. You see it over on the right. That's part of the brake wheel. I've actually included that as a tool because what you need to do is you need to poke the holes out to put the truss rods through. Excuse me. Next up, we have the Gray Street house. This is another very popular kit we have. Thanks to Daryl Huffman, we got a lot of press for it back in February. In fact, when he put these pictures on the internet, I was in Kansas City doing a convention out there and for work, and all of a sudden I got these orders, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. I mean, this is great, but how do I deal with this? So I tried to work that through remote control, and everybody was pretty agreeable. But once I explained the situation, but I wasn't happy that it took a couple days to get these kits out. But thanks to Daryl, we got this publicity on this kit. And Kevin Maycomer actually pushed me into doing the O gauge. If you go on his website, he's got some of them for sale, and of course, here's I have it on my side as well. It was actually pretty easy to upscale it and work with O gauge, even though I've never really touched O gauge at all.
Is that the only one of your kits you're going to produce in O gauge?
No, in fact, I actually have a Molly's trolley that we'll get to here in a minute or two.
Yep.
Yeah, there's more in the future.
Right.
And here it is Molly's. That was what you're looking at here. This sorry for the poor pictures, but the brown and yellow building is actually O scale or O gauge. That's the prototype for it. In fact, I have the next prototype sitting in front of me. I've had to redo some things, and one of the things that's in the process is, if you notice, there's a wave in the roof. I figured a way to fix that, so we're going to include that fix in this kit. But this kit is actually it's a small station. I saw pictures of it somewhere, but it's based on the Trolley Museum in Kennebunkport, Maine. It has a station that's very similar to this. My original idea was with the early HO stuff was, in fact, I think this is the first kit I had put out, was I did different windows and different door type combinations and different things with it. And I wanted each kit to be unique that way. But in going through production, I realized that was a horrible idea. So I ended up having to pull all those off the market. And this is what you're seeing now is they're going to be more representative of what the O gauge version is. So once I get the O gauge version done, then I'll go back to the HO and fix it and come up to a common standard with it. But there's some things that are missing off of this prototype. Like there's going to be a schedule board on the back, and it's missing the signboards as to what station it is. But I think this is going to be a pretty neat one, and I think the O gauge guys would really appreciate it.
Mm.
Next up, we have the Painter General Store. Funny story about this one is a little over a year ago, we were driving south on Route 13 in Virginia, and I saw this blue building out of the corner of my eye. And I didn't know what the heck it was. I had no idea. And so once we went to Cape Charles, Virginia. That seems to be our new vacation spot for the last several years as a family. I got down to Cape Charles and I had my computer with me, so I just started sketching it out, and I looked on Google Earth to get some street view pictures of it. And of course, because Painter is so small, you're not gonna the street view was actually from Route 13. This building is actually not on Route 13. It's about 500 feet down on a side road. So it didn't really have a good clear picture of what the building was and all that. And so I did a lot of guesswork on it, and that's what you're looking at. So I figured, it'll be a general store if nothing else, because I don't know, down in that area it could be a general store or a bait shop, but I'm I don't know that there would be any other use for it. Excuse me. Well, this year when we went down, when we got the painter, I had my wife turn off, and I actually got some pictures of it, as you can see on the right and left side. And I had sent Greg a copy of the general store to see if we could generate some interest with it. And I was like, Greg, I got some pictures for you. And I sent him a picture of it. And what he did, he ended up taking the sign, the real sign, and scaling it appropriately, and he put it on the version that he was doing, and it was like real time. By the time I was home, this thing was done. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. He did a great job with it. So his version is more like the real building. In fact, it's probably better constructed than the real building if you take a good look at it. That thing, it looks like it's got plywood sheeting or something on the outside. It looks almost like a veneer that's coming apart. It's just been repainted a couple of times. Next up, we have the smokehouse, which is something I've always kind of wanted to do, a smokehouse, but because I one of my hobbies is I like to put meat in my smoker. And a couple of years ago, my wife and I had been to Alaska, and we saw these freestanding smokers, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool in that you've got all that space, but at the same time, it didn't look like much. But so I decided to come up with my own. And this one is actually based on a shed. So what I did is I basically just copied the shed and then put the roof fence on the top and on the one side, and then added the side building there, or the side lean-to for wood storage. And I handcrafted a door. I've got this one. It's I offered it up for pre-sale a while ago. Got no takers, so I just took it down. Excuse me. I think in the very near future, I'm going to throw it back out there and see if there's any interest. But if you'll notice, I actually did the HO version first. But I was encouraged to do this one in O gauge and see how it came out. But I was pretty pleased how it looks. May have to do something a little bit different with the top vents, but that'll be up to the individual modeler when they get to it. One of the things that I did was I had a guy that built me. He did a test version of the Bush's mill, and he was really happy with the mill itself, although the water wheel and all that. He's like, "Hey, why don't you offer that?" So I did. I think I've sold 2 of them in like a year. So I know. I think was it Sarah Cooley? I think she has one. I'm not sure where the other one ended up. But anyway, a coworker of mine, well, we'll get to that story in a little bit. Coworker of mine had wanted me to do his coffee shop. So that's kind of what you're seeing in the bottom left there. Yeah, here we go. So I talked about this the other night. The 10th Avenue house, basically, if you look slightly to the left of the middle, there's a little shack that is at a local restaurant that we used to frequent quite a bit pre-COVID. And I just decided it looked so cool, I wanted to model it. So I don't know if anybody's on Railroad Line forums, but I did a quick sketch of it and threw it up there and said, hey, this is your weekend challenge. Do this. I don't care what scale you do it in. I don't care what you do with it, but here you go. And I was surprised. I actually got, there was quite a few responses to it. I know one guy basically used the same dimensions. He did it in O scale, made an outhouse out of it. So that's kind of cool. My version, of course, is right above the one that was there. I decided that it needed a little bit different windows in it, and the door a little bit different, just to make it a little more interesting. Excuse me. And And then when I decided to start Conowingo Models, I expanded this structure a little bit. It's actually the same width. The height is a little bit different. It's a little bit taller. And so I was originally thinking about offering that structure. And then I got to looking at it. It's like, that's pretty boring. And so I was actually on a trip to Germany with work last year. And I was actually looking for a picture of it. I couldn't find it. But there's German architecture has these buildings. Well, they kind of stick out a little bit more on the top than on the second floor than the first floor. And I thought, hey, that'd be kind of cool to incorporate that. But I had to be very careful how I did it because it had to look American. If I made it look German, nobody was going to buy it unless they were doing German stuff, which doesn't happen very much in this country. So I think this actually, I think it's a neat kit. It's actually, I think it's one of my favorites. Anyway, what you're looking at here also, if you look in this picture in the bottom left, excuse me, I put a full roof structure in there, full ridge beam and all that. And that I think definitely adds some layers of dimension to the kit that you're looking at. There's a coworker of mine used to own a coffee shop called Young Bean, and he's like, "Hey man, why don't you do the Young Bean?" So I really didn't want to do this because it's a big brick building and it kind of had some character to it, but I just wasn't about to go messing with a brick building at this stage. So what I ended up doing was I kit bashed a 10th Avenue house, and I wanted to add a water wheel to it. I was just looking for an excuse, and here it was. So what you're looking at here is the water wheel kit put on the 10th Avenue house, and I decided to convert, of course, make it into the coffee shop. Well, I took all the stuff off, like where it says Young Bean Coffee Shop in the front there. I took that off of basic places on the internet, because there's still, if you look up the Young Bean, there's still tons of pictures of it on the internet. So I downloaded what I could. There was a few of them I had to make, but it's got a bunch of signs on there to try to bring out the same kind of coffee shop funkiness flair that the original had. If you notice in the middle picture here, it's got a little side room that I put on there, and that's actually where he does his roasting. So the question is how in the world do you, with that, do you incorporate the water wheel into this building? How do you explain it? Well, with the brick on there, basically what you're looking at a couple different things. First of all, the original building burnt down. It was brick. And the building you're seeing now is the rebuilding of that previous building. And additionally, how would I explain the water wheel? Well, okay, the water wheel is used to grind the coffee beans, near as I can figure. So that's how I explain that. Next, we've got something that has shown up, I believe, on this show. It's called the Whispering Church. This is another one that I sent Greg and had him take a look at. If you notice, it also it has an internal structure, and it's got task board around the outside. So the task board actually simulates stucco, and I managed to cut some brick into it so you can see the stucco peeling away to give it a little bit more character. This is the second prototype to this, and hopefully we'll get the third one going here fairly soon. But this is tiny. It's actually based on a pictures of a church that I found in Croatia. And of course, we've got swag and some other things going on. We've got, if anybody's looking for extra stuff, I did actually end up picking up a K4S, a second one that I'm not quite sure how I ordered it. But anyway, if anybody's interested in that, then let me know. Got a decent price on it. And also, for the sales promo here, if you use Jim Kello sometime between today and the 31st, you'll get $10 off any order over $50. So that's all I have on that one. Unless we want to go back to the beginning there. All right, questions, comments, concerns?
One of the things I really like about the models that you've shown is their size. So many models that I see are so large that, you know, it just, the space becomes a real problem. I'd love to build it, but unless you're going to put it on a diorama, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, that's the thing I figured when my layout is going, I'm going to want to have a lot of small buildings in there. And that's the thing is if you've got a large layout, you've always got space for a little building.
Yeah.
So it wasn't 100% intentional to do things that way, but that's just how it worked out. And I do have some larger things that are in the process, like this guy here. This is actually based on a lighthouse. I believe it's up in Michigan, but this is actually the second prototype. That's about a year old. So the third prototype, it's actually going to have an octagonal. It's called a lantern up on top, but and it's actually going to be a little shorter, and it's going to have a couple of side buildings on it. So it's going to be a little bit bigger. But yeah, you were talking about mollies. That's this molly's right here, the O scale version or the O gauge version. It's 2.5 inches by 3 3/4. So any O gauge person should have room for this on their layout.
Yeah, I agree.
Chris, the other thing that I like about your models is they're very affordable, and obviously size very often dictates the cost, but it's very easy to spend a large amount of money on a kit and be so afraid that if you want to try something different, you're really going to mess it up, so you build it per the instructions to be safe. With your kits, I don't mind just going wild with them and trying something, because you're not going to be out much of an investment. And it's not like if it goes wrong, you're making a big mistake. You might make a little mistake, but they're fun kits to just play with and try different things with.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things I was aiming for. Is I want it to be, I think what they call in the computer business, open-ended architecture. Is I don't want to see 100 of these little things. I don't want to see them that color. You know, bring out your imagination, get some creativity, do some cool things with this. This could be an awesome, you know, a really awesome building. Heck, you could put it on another building. That's what I've actually toyed with the idea of making a full-blown mill with it, with basically a second building and some walkways and some other things. But really, guys, that's up to you. And that one's fictional. Most of the stuff's fictional, but you are going to see at some point in the future, you're going to see some real things come out of Conowingo models.
Well, and when I saw that smokehouse of yours, my immediate thought was, I could build one of those, put it right next to my factory, and put a sign on it saying Building C or something like that. Maybe have a big smokestack coming out of it, and it could be anything. It would be perfect for just a little building in a big industry.
So I assume these kits are all laser, right?
Yes, they're all laser cut. There are some areas where you're going to have to use some strip wood, like with the flat cars. I just provide you the strip wood, and you'll have to cut it to size. Same with Bush's mill, but that also gives you some sort of freedom too.
Right. But the basic structure's all cut already.
But yeah, Yeah, everything's pre-cut. It's not like the old, what were they?
Tishy, not Tishy, but Campbell.
Campbell.
Yeah, the old Campbell's kits where you have to cut everything out and they give you like a square and make something with the square. And it's like, oh, come on. One of the things that I did in Bush's Mill, and it was, doesn't seem like it was all that well received, was I actually cut the holes too big, and I did that on purpose. There was two reasons, well, three really. The first, there's a house that's up the hill that actually has cedar shake shingles on it, and what they did is they took like 2x4s and they framed out the window before they put the window in, so there's a clear separation between the window and the shingles on the walls. So I wanted people to have the opportunity to do that, but I also wanted people to have the opportunity to use different windows with it. And I think there was a couple other reasons I did that, but and really, if you take a good look at that mill, having that window framed out like that really makes a difference in it. I got some hate mail on that, which I didn't understand. I guess mainly people didn't read the directions about, hey, you've got to put the strip wood in there for the window to fit properly.
Any Vermont buildings in the future?
Any Vermont buildings in the future? Well, there could well be. I was looking this afternoon at the North Dorset station. I thought I had plans for that somewhere, but I would really like to do that. And there was actually something else I came across this afternoon. In fact, it was the same thing. It was in North Dorset. There's a nice building. It looks like a storage shed or something that was part of a marble inclined railroad. And if I can find more pictures, I might do that. But I do have a ton of Vermont stuff. But I actually may end up doing a lot of some things that are local. There used to be the Lancaster, Oxford, and Southern that had, they weren't all that popular. They didn't last very long. But they had a Doodlebug that's now at Strasbourg. And I was thinking about doing a couple of their stations because there's a guy, I forget his name, but he put out a bunch of books and he's got plans in all of them. So anything along the Lancaster, Oxford, and Southern, for the most part, I've got plans for all of it. So that stuff. In fact, I even contacted him. Stan. Anyway, I went to one of his lectures a few years ago. It was pretty interesting. But I contacted him and said, "Hey, do you mind if I do this?" He's like, "Any exposure you can get for us would be greatly appreciated." I'm like, okay. So there may be some of that stuff in the future.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would like to do some more Vermont stuff if I can find. That's the thing is not a lot of that had a lot of character to it. That's, you know, you really need to throw stuff out there. You kind of need to serve both markets, generic, and you also need to do, if you're going to do something big or unique, it's got to be really unique.
Yeah.
Let me ask you
So
a question.
are you doing, JJ, are you doing Vermont?
Yeah, I'm very interested in Rutland, Central Vermont.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what I have? I am in the process of doing, in fact, I've got a piece of it right here. I am doing the Gaysville station.
Okay.
From the White River Railroad. I've showed Jim pictures of it before, the station itself. But basically in the flood of 1927, it was just gone, just disappeared.
Yeah.
So I've got a few pictures of it. In fact, I found a guy by the name of I think it's Randy Leframboise. He's from Burlington, and he did a model of that station. And so I contacted him and said, "Hey, what do you have?" And he sent me he sent me a bunch of pictures that he had, and so we kind of compared notes, and I sent him what I had, and he's like, "Yep, that looks about right." So I'm in the process of trying to put it together now.
Yeah, that's cool. I take one of them.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, it's not exactly railroad related, but you just celebrated an anniversary in the service. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. I am in the. It's funny in this area. You can be in 4 states in like 10 minutes or half an hour ish. I am in the Delaware Air National Guard. I'm a C-130 loadmaster. It's a great job. It's I've seen a lot of places. In fact, Monday I'm supposed to go out on a trip, go pick up an airplane that's been modified. But it's been quite an experience. In fact, that stint I was just telling you about in Afghanistan, I was actually doing an air advisor stint. I was there for 7 months, and I was actually teaching Afghans to operate the C-130. And that was actually really interesting in that you can't just go over there and talk like you normally talk because you'll totally lose them. You have to slow it down. You have to use a different set of words. You have to understand that there's some really interesting cultural things that otherwise you wouldn't even think about. Like I had a guy that I was trying to make a rapport with him. So you always talk about your family. Ask him about his family. And he I forget exactly how it went, but I asked him how many kids he had, and I think he said 3. And so he showed me a picture of his son and I want to say a goat. It's been a while. I forget. I haven't told the story in a while. Which means, okay, so he showed me a picture of 1 son. That means he's got 2 daughters.
Wow.
Because they don't take pictures of their wives. They don't talk about them. One of the best things I ever had was a dish called Kabuli Palau. And if you ever get the opportunity, I've got pictures somewhere. Actually, I don't think they're on this computer. But it was it was a fabulous dish. It's rice, meat. Believe it or not, it had raisins and carrots in it, and onions and a few other vegetables. It was really, really good.
And
I tried to make it at home.
Which anniversary was this, Chris?
Oh, my 30th. I've been in the Guard 30 years. I've been flying for 18. So it's been quite an interesting time.
That's fantastic. Chris, why do you refer to it as O gauge instead of O scale?
Isn't that the proper way to talk about it? Whenever I say, "Oh, you O guys," you mean O gauge? I'm like, okay, it's O gauge. When I say O scale, people go, "Oh, no, it's O gauge." All right. So
I've always
O
thought,
gauge to the line L, folks. O scale to the 2 rail, folks.
yeah.
Hey, I got a question on that Foggy Mountain paper.
yeah.
Is that like an embossed paper, or is it flat, or?
I wouldn't say it's flat. Let me see if I can find a picture, some of it right here. All right. Well, here's a partial sheet.
But it has some
But
like.
it's got a texture to it.
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's some neat stuff. I really like using it. One thing I figured out the hard way is there is a top and a bottom. So if you're going if you put it on like this, after a while you'll realize that it's upside down. One of those things that's like it's got shadows, but it's very subtle. So
right.
it's like,
yeah, that looks pretty good actually.
yeah, it's good stuff. It's I think there's 4 or 5 different designs. Let's see what I have here. Yeah, I've got basically a fairly I don't know how well you guys see this, but a fairly new looking brick. Then there's the one I like, the aged brick. And then you've got flat stone, stacked stone, I think they call this. And then you've got this thicker stone. But you put it on wrong, you're gonna realize it after a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh crap, why did I do that? So you've got to really look at it and realize what side's what before you put it on.
Right.
I ran
Which
into that
stone did
same
you
thing.
use on-
What's that?
I ran into that same thing with some other embossed stone once, and you really do. If you look at it for a while, then you start seeing where the shadows are and which way is the right side up. But it's not obvious right away.
Yeah.
Which stone did you use on your model?
On that one, I believe it's the I'm not sure if it's a stack stone or which. Yeah. Yeah, it might be I think it's the larger stone.
Larger stone?
Yep. Because I don't think the stacked, I don't think it looked appropriate because it's trying to imagine this is an older model, so, or an older building rather.
Chris, what is your procedure to go through to produce a kit? How do you, I mean, you've shown us a lot of prototypes and so forth, and you talk about second prototype and this kind of stuff. What's the process you go through?
Well, what I do, of course, I do a lot of different, first of all, it usually circles around in my head for a while before I figure out what I want to do. And I'll go through, I've got a file of ideas categorized by different types like mill or factory or whatever in my computer. And I'll go through and take a look at them. Then I'll sit down with Corel Draw and start to draw them up. And then I'll have them cut. And once I do that, I'll put it together, see where I got things right, see where I got things wrong. On this kit here, I think I did a pretty decent job, except the base is too big. So I need to shrink that down a little bit. So hopefully we'll see that one in the future. But yeah, I decided recently to play with octagons and see what I could come up with. And once I get a good solid prototype, then I'll see what I need to do to get it into production. Like I didn't do it this month, but I usually place a Teachy order once a month for what I need. I'll take a look at what I have in stock. Really, what I need to do now is is go to my stock, because I've got like those hardware bins. I've got hardware bins that I have loaded with different types of Teachy doors and windows, and I need to whittle that stuff down, because I've got some that I bought them for a project and the project went before I did anything with it, so I ended up with all these windows. So I'll try to use those, but and make sure that I have the right shingles in stock. In fact, I ordered shingles the other day. So depending on the shingles and all that, and I'll get everything lined up, and then I'll have the kits cut. Although hopefully here soon I'll be able to cut my own, and then ensure I have the proper packaging for it. I'll package it up, make sure I've got the instructions, and see what I can do to improve the instructions. Then I'll send it to somebody like Greg, who was generous enough to go ahead and build it and tell me I'm crazy or not crazy, or although I don't think he's told me I'm crazy yet. But that's actually sort of a new step. That was one of the things that I originally done, but I had chosen the wrong person to send it to, and I never did ended up with pictures of what it ended up looking like finished. And then like about a month later, I had somebody wrote me an email that said, hey, I didn't have the right shingles, or I didn't have the right amount of shingles. And I was like, well, the guy that did the test build should have figured that one out, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So I was kind of burned on that one, and I ended up having to, I went back and fixed all the kits. I had a little egg on my face from that. But, luckily I decided to give it another try with Greg, and Greg's been awesome with providing me feedback on what I need to do on these kits. And so one of the things I'm trying to do to better gauge how well these kits are doing, or how I should even, or if I should even sell them, is I'll offer them for pre-sale. Like you've seen with the smokehouse. I didn't get any buys, so all I have is a prototype. So it doesn't take me anything to, if I put it out there, like I'm planning on putting out there basically now through Labor Day, if I get some people that are interested in that kit, then I'll produce it. If nobody's interested, it goes back on the shelf. I'll worry about it. I don't know, maybe a Christmas sale or something. But that's kind of how I want to run things for a little bit here. Is I'll get everything basically up to through the prototype stage, figure out if this is going to be a viable kit, and people buy it, great. If not, it goes on the shelf, and hopefully all I've got in it is my time and a prototype.
So do you do this full-time or part-time, or?
Oh, no. If I was doing this full time, I'd be out on the street somewhere begging for change. No, this is like Steve Milley. This is what I'm hoping to be like a bridge to retirement, because I see that coming up in hopefully about 10 years or so. And so there'll be a gap between when I retire and when I can collect. So I'm hoping that I can get this stepped up enough in that 10 years that that'll be a good career move for me. I don't know if anybody's ever been up to Bar Mills, but when I think about it, it's like, that's the way to do it.
Well, yeah, I think he's got a lot of lasers, and I don't know how many lasers he has, but I've never been there, but I'm sure it's a big operation.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, because I went up there a few years back, and I want to say he had 3 lasers going, but what I can't remember is how he did multiple on one laser. I can't remember if the laser goes all the way through like 10 sheets, or whether it flips them, whether it cuts it and flips it to go to the next one. I don't remember how he did that, but it was a really impressive setup. And it's funny, he had Lenny. Lenny, by the way, is the straight guy in the operation, because Art's kind of a, not sure if you'd call him the jokester or not, but Lenny's like deadpan, and he's quite a person. Yeah, he had Lenny show me how they do their castings and all that, and it's a pretty neat setup.
Well, Chris, if you ended up being that successful, then once you're retired, it would mean you're actually running a business. Is that something you would want to do?
Well, we'll see how long it goes. I mean, if it's one of those things that's 40 hours a week, well, maybe I'd want to do it for 5 years or so, and then pawn it off to somebody and see if I can find a buyer or something. I don't know, but I'll worry about that if it ever happens.
Chris, do you have the same opinion about doing the instruction that we've heard other manufacturers talk about, that may be the hardest part of the whole putting the kit together?
It is pretty hard. In fact, it's funny because when I laser cut a kit, I'm like, okay, so I had this done in my head like 3 weeks ago. And then I have to remember, how did I do that again? I've got a kit I was working on this morning or this afternoon that I really hope it comes to fruition, but it's another lighthouse. And I was looking at it. I'm like, I don't remember how this thing goes together. Because I built it. I was actually there. It's actually in St. John's, Newfoundland, and it's a beautiful little lighthouse. And it has got so much character. I'm like, I have to do this kit. It's nowhere near a railroad, but I don't care. You know, I know that's one of the areas that people really like is doing a wharf scene or whatever. Well, you got to have a lighthouse in your wharf scene. So anyway, so I've got this kit and I'm like, I think I remember how to put this together, but I'm not quite sure. So yes, instructions are quite the task because I have to remember how I assembled it in my head, and then I have to actually do it. And then is that a realistic approach to it? Because with a lot of these kits that I put together in my head, it's like, where do my fingers go? How do I get this whole thing to work together? So yeah, I sort of have to mentally break it down a little bit. In fact, one of the big kits that I had some of these issues on was the Crunch Bridge. Basically, what I ended up having to do was come up with a template. So you build it in the template, and then you go up from there, and then you go out from the middle. And I think, Greg, did you put it together that exact way, or did you put it together some other way?
No, actually, the template was really useful, and I'm done with the kit, and I'm saving the template in case I can use it for anything else.
Because that was the thing, is because of the way it's got this arch to it. The arch is actually on the bottom as well. And with that arch, you can't put the thing together like this. It's not going to work. So once you put the pieces in the template and then put it all together from there, so that's the thing, is I don't want things to be built the same way as every other kit. I mean, I realized a lot of them, like the Gray Street station or the Gray Street house, you have to. And really, there's a certain amount of that market that you have to cater towards. But there's always going to be somebody that wants a basic kit. Great, there you go, there you have it. But then there's others that in my mind anyway, require more complexity. Like that Crunch Bridge, it does require more complexity. If you noticed on the 10th Street or on the 10th Avenue house, I did see, I forget who it was, but he bought one and he put it together, but he didn't put any of the roof bracing in there. Which, okay, you paid for it, but if you don't want to use it, that makes things a little easier. Not on this kit, but on that one, sure, it works. You lose some of the detail, but you know, whatever helps you get through the kit, I guess.
Chris, I find that I need to photograph every step of the way when I'm doing my test builds. That's the two things. Number one, it helps me remember what I did. But I'm also able to use some of those photographs, even if I cut and paste and crop and whatever, to put them into the instructions.
Yeah, I do some things along those lines too. I found I actually end up using those when I do the instructions. I'll actually try to build them in CorelDRAW on some of the diagrams, like laying out the Gray Street is a good example. To lay out where to put the strip wood and all that for the bracing and etc. That's what I use. But yeah, I found those. I'll use those photos to build the diagrams with. And yeah, some kits are pretty easy to, you know, like the Gray Street and all the background flats. Those are really easy to do instructions for. So really, all you have to do is change the diagrams, and you're good to go. But then, you know, each one's got a little bit of a nuance. I think there's one that's got a peaked roof in the middle. So you need to account for that a little bit differently than you would one with a kit with a flat roof. But
Well, hey, guys, I've got to head out, get some other stuff done here. Thanks, Chris, for just showing us all your models there, and looking forward to some other Zooms on your, I think you were doing the build stuff, right?
yeah, we're going to do the build stuff. So bring something, and thanks for showing up, Paul. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks. Have a good evening.
You
Good
too.
to see you, Paul.
Any other questions, comments, things I'd like to see, or? I mean, I'm always looking for ideas of kits to build. So, I mean, I actually did an interesting exercise last week in that I've been toying with the idea of doing a switching layout. So I downloaded what I thought would be good. And coincidentally, it's the Wharf Street by Art Fahey. And I started messing with it. It won't fit. I'm actually trying to do it on a piece of this pink foam insulation. And so I started playing with it, and I started realizing different things. And I finally got what I think is going to end up being a decent design. Well, then I decided to start putting I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe this would be something good to bring to a train shows as a way of displaying the products. Because really what I did at Timonium last October is this the only train show I've been to with Conowingo models. But I took and I got these little display cases, and I put the buildings in there because really I didn't want, a bunch of little kids coming up and, picking the models up and throwing them and doing whatever, because that sort of thing happens. So that's why I put them in those cases. But I'm starting to wonder, maybe I ought to do that, basically put together a switching layout that I can put these different buildings on. So I did. I got everything all lined up, and I got to figure it out. And in fact, my lighthouse here was right prominently out in front, because I'm like, I've been looking for an excuse to do a wharf style layout. Because let's face it, there are none in Vermont. You're not gonna, well, unless you're Lake Champlain, but that's a different story. So I went and realized that I don't really have a whole lot of industries that service rail. I've got the Carmassi scooters kit that actually is a background flat. So I put a little track in the back for that, but that's it. I don't really have anything else. There is one that I am working on that I didn't put pictures of because that one's still in the development stages. In fact, that's something, that was an idea Jeff Grove gave me, and it's going to be a creamery. But the thing is you approach it on one side and it's at a raised level, and then on the back side, it's going to be down lower where the train tracks are. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to figure out how to do that. That's still in a process. But anyway, that one will actually be trackside. But I need to do some more track servicing buildings. So I'm always open for ideas.
Well, Chris, I think that, and you showed it real quick, that octagon building, there are very few buildings out there that kind of have unusual shapes, and that sounds like it might be one.
Yeah, this one, it's the signaling tower. I found a picture of one that's similar to it on the internet. Of course, Walther's made this one. This is actually one of the first kits I put together when I got back into modeling. But I'm kind of aiming for something along those lines. It's funny because comparatively speaking, this one looks too small.
Yeah.
Maybe it's slightly off scale. I don't know. But anyway, I'll work on this some more, and we'll come up and figure out what to do with this one. But I put an outhouse in the back side of it. I do like how the second story came out. The first story does need some work. But this is actually going to be this is going to work out to being something very similar to what I'm going to put on the lighthouse next and see how it works. Because if you notice, there's 4 sides to this lighthouse. And I was trying to figure out a way to make it 8 sides. I think I've got it. I've designed it, and it's just a matter of getting it cut and actually try it. Because the 3rd prototype is going to be built up soon, I think. But that's one of my favorite looks. I love how this lighthouse has got that square tower to it. But
You talked about not doing brick buildings right now. You have plans for those in the future?
well, I don't want to slam the door shut and say no, but I don't have any plans for it right now.
Okay.
If I do, I know a lot of people are using lasers to cut brick. I don't know. To me, that's using an awful lot of laser time, and I'm not sure that people are going to fork out that kind of money. But they do anyway. I know Steve Millie's got a bunch of kits that are laser cut brick. And I think who was it? The monster guy the other night.
Monster model.
Jimmy Simmons.
Jimmy Simmons.
It's funny. I want to call him Jimmy 2M's because we had on one deployment, we had a commander that was Jimmy 2M's, and he was the same thing, Jimmy Simmons.
I try to get Jim Simmons to do a manufacturer's discount on his product. It was a negative.
Oh.
He won't discount manufacturers. You're gonna pay retail for his sheets. And I bought a couple of sheets from him. I also bought a couple of brick sheets, laser cut from Brian Bollinger. And they're up there because they end up costing $15, $18 a piece before you add shipping to it. So
Yeah,
it would run the cost of a kit. I'll be coming out with a brick one that Steve's cutting for me, but there's no question it runs up complexity and cost.
Yeah, I imagine he's probably not offering discounts on that stuff because he's probably not. He realizes the margin isn't that, or he probably doesn't have a whole lot of margin on there to begin with, because of the cost on it.
Yep.
And of course, as you know, you've got to balance out the cost and how much you can ask for it. So,
Well, what is actually a solution to that you actually would have to go to somebody like Northeastern or Mount Albert or somebody. It's easy to buy your clapboard or your board and batten siding or any types of sidings that you want, and then just throw them on a cutter. I don't know of any of them that have out brick siding that you can then start cutting, but it would make it much more affordable for smaller companies.
Yeah, that's the thing is, if you look at what I know, I use almost exclusively Northeastern, and really all it is you take a sheet and they cut it straight across, and that's why you get scribe, and that's why you get clapboard. The one that I would really like to do, but I think it's going to be entirely too cost prohibitive, is I'd love to see some fish scale, because I could do a lot. I could do some serious stuff with some fish scale, but you can't cut it the same way you cut these. But in fact, the last group that I saw that did fish scale was Grant Line, but they did it with plastic sheets.
Yeah, I've used theirs.
In fact, I have one of Jeff's. Actually, I brought 2 of them. The Carolina Bookstore, I think it is. It's a kit that he put out a few years ago. It actually has taskboard in it, but he included some shingles that were fish scale, and So I had a couple of those grant line sheets, and I ended up replacing that that piece of instead of using shingles on there, I used that plastic fish scale.
Other brick manufacturer is ITLA. I imagine that Laser Art. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're out of Vermont also. If I
No, they're in Ontario.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're. Oh, I'm thinking Mount Blue.
Oh, no.
Anybody have any more questions for Chris?
Not that I can think of.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate you coming this evening and doing this for us. This has been great.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chris.
It's really been interesting.
Yep.
Well, listen, next time it's going to be the My Build section. So it's going to be up to you guys to bring some of your models and show us what you're doing, what you're working on. And we hope that you're going to enjoy doing that. I hope we're all going to learn something from each other and find out a little bit more about what you use for materials and the kind of models that you're interested in building. So with that said, that's all I have. If anybody has anything else.
Good.
All right, well, thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thanks, Chris.
Greg, thank you so much for doing what you're doing for Dylan tonight on his way home.
Oh, I'm glad to. I'll get with him once he's back home and work out getting stuff transferred to him.
Fantastic. Well, thank you
It
so
should be
much.
pretty close.
All right, nice seeing everyone again.
Thank you so much for coming, guys.
All right,
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Jim.
Thank you.